Okay, here we go. Saturday Fantasy Baseball. Now, you know, if you're listening on demand, that I like to make sure that we have sound in the chat room before we get started on our notes. I see the chat room is filling up, which is nice because it's been pretty sunny. It's getting time for the All-Star break, and everything tends to slow down after that for baseball, but not over here in this household. We talk baseball every day. We do podcasts every day, Monday through Sunday, 9 a.m. at LennyMelnickFantasySports.com/live. You could sign up. We don't send spam. We don't harass you. We don't data mine your information. We don't share it with anybody. And it's free to join, and it's easy. And so then you can appear in the chat room, and we get to know who you are, and you can join our wonderful group of people that we built over the past, 10 years or so at this website. And as soon as I see sound in the chat room, we'll go ahead and get started. I see Jeremy Gibbs. I got to say hi to Jeremy Gibbs when we can. But he's going to the Sabre. He's at the Sabre, S-A-B-R. I think it's the 51st Sabre convention this year. And he's there now. He says his first event starts at 9 a.m., so he's got to leave early. And he wants us to talk about the poor Cardinals. Gosh, I don't recall a season ever seeing the Cardinals this bad. Wow. And I don't recall waiting for Saturday baseball to show up in the chat room this long, but it's not there yet. So just give me a second. And I would do some commercials like Lenny, but you know me. I don't have a lot of that stuff hidden in my repertoire here. All right, here we go. The sound is good. Go ahead and tell him to refresh, Leonard.
Okay.
The sound is good.
I don't see it yet.
It's there. So, sound is good. Just, I'll type it in if you don't want to. Thank you, everybody. So, sound is good, Jay Gibbs. Let's get started. Now, I did mention this before the sound came through because, you know, I have to talk for a couple minutes until the sound comes through to the chat room. But Jay Gibbs is over there at the Sabre Convention. His first event starts at 9. That's, you know, if you're a baseball nerd, and no offense to Gibbs, but you know what I'm talking about. If you're a big baseball nerd, you love stats, you love formulas, Sabre is a great place to go, and Jeremy Gibbs goes every year. I know this year he picked out a great outfit. It's funny because when girls go places, I don't know about dudes, but I can speak for myself as a woman. When we go somewhere that is an exciting place to go and we're looking forward to it, we always pick out, we try to find the perfect outfit, the perfect pair of shoes and everything like that. So it made me chuckle a little bit when Gibbs was talking about the outfit that he had laid out to go to this convention. And it just really kind of warmed my heart because that's what we do when we're going somewhere very exciting. I didn't know men did that too, but apparently they do. Anyway, Jay Gibbs does. So he's a big Cardinals fan, and he kind of brought up in the chat room that he wants to know, he wants us to talk about how about the Cardinals. They're finding new ways to lose each and every day. They all went to the Cardinals game last night as a group. And here's the thing. Like, some of my notes this morning, there were talks about the playoff chances for certain teams, and the Reds are obviously coming up big time with their playoff chances. I think they have a 10% chance of making the playoffs right now or something like that. But the Cardinals, it seems to be going the opposite direction for the Cardinals. And one of the writers brought up, you know, it's kind of putting into perspective at the trade deadline which of these teams are going to sell and which of these teams are going to be buyers. And the thing is, even though the Reds have just as much, I don't know, the Cardinals have to have a less of a chance to get in the playoffs now than the Reds, right? I mean, they're losing worse than I've ever seen them lose, I think. I mean, I don't remember a time seeing the Cardinals doing this bad ever in my life. And there's a saying in baseball, you know, the Cardinals way, and they have one of the best organizations, the team is their organization is one of the best baseball's ever had, and it has been that way for a long time. So you always wonder, and you can never count the Cardinals out completely, but you have to wonder at this point, and especially this question goes out to Jay Gibbs, are they going to trade Flaherty? Are they going to trade some of these big names who are soon to hit the free agency? Are the Cardinals going to throw in the towel for the first time? Now, I'm not saying it's never happened, but I don't think I've ever seen it. If it did happen, I don't remember it happening. And I'm wondering, they talk about Bieber getting traded and these, White Sox pitcher Giolito getting traded. And I think to myself, like, how can you trade off these pieces when you're competing for your division title? It just makes not a lot of sense to me. Anyways, I wonder what you guys think in the chat room about this, and I'd like to hear, especially from Gibbs. He says the Cardinals never sell, and that's true. The Cardinals, I don't remember them ever selling before, but could this be the year that they do actually trade guys like Flaherty, for instance? He was on the list, and there's a couple other ones that they could trade away. Gibbs says he doesn't think that they sell their stars. If you listen to the leadership, they're happy making the playoffs most years. If they don't get there this year, they will just press reset and start over next season. But when you come to realize that you're not going to make the playoffs, I realize they're not going to strip down the club and rebuild from scratch like we see some teams doing. But when at this point in the season and you've accepted that your team is not going anywhere, do you still hold on to these guys who are going to hit free agency anyways? I personally can see the Cardinals selling, and that is going to be a big deal. Like we've talked about already this morning, the Cardinals don't sell typically. Okay, I didn't promise Lenny, but I told him a couple days ago, I said, I'm starting the Saturday show off telling everybody that I was wrong about Samad Taylor. But here's the thing. I've had this conversation over the years a lot of times. I'm not always right about players. Definitely not. But the thing about fantasy, and it's not about being right all the time, it's about your reasoning. It's about logical reasoning. I learned this from Ron Chandler when I first started playing fantasy baseball, reading Ron Chandler's books and listening to him speak. He said a couple things that have stuck with me since day one, and one of those is it's not about the outcome of a player. It's about the steps that you took to make your decision. For instance, with Franmil Reyes, he turned out to be a huge bust this year, and every year there's going to be some. But the thing about Franmil, the reason that I decided to put Franmil at the top of my list for late round, very cheap picks in the draft is that Franmil Reyes has a history of hitting for power. We've seen him hit 30 home runs. We know he can do it. He signed a minor league contract with the Royals, which kept him out of the fantasy spotlight because this minor league contract that he signed, if you look at it off the surface, he's not even in the majors, so why would you put him on your fantasy team? But when you're this late in the draft and you're picking a guy like Franmil Reyes, Kansas City Royals had plenty of opportunity to play him. I knew that he wouldn't be down in the minors long just because of his history. Yeah, he signed a minor league contract, but his past history says that he could hit for power. No doubt about it. The Royals are not that good of a team. There was place for him to play every day, and he did, but he didn't do well. So obviously that was a bust. But still, the reasoning for choosing Franmil was solid. It was logical. The same with Samad Taylor. I mean, I know there's a lot of you out there that went out and spent a good chunk of your fab money on Samad Taylor, but the fact is Samad Taylor stole 35 bases in the minors, and the fact is, on top of that he came up and did jack shit. So Samad Taylor is gone back to the minors, and I feel bad for everybody. Just to let you know, whenever I recommend a player, I do spend my own money on them. I don't just tell you something and do the opposite. So I spent a good chunk of my fab on Samad Taylor too, and it didn't work out for me. But really, when it comes down to building a good fantasy team, you just have to make sure that your projections are based on past history, number one, and underlying stats. And really, that's what you have to take into consideration. Player outcomes are not making or breaking, a prediction, right? Okay, so that's that. I was wrong on Samad Taylor, but I wasn't really wrong. The guy can steal bases like crazy. He just didn't do it. So maybe he'll be back, maybe not. I'm sorry for the bust, but that's how we make decisions in fantasy. Now, for those of you who love Corbin Carroll and happen to draft him, he was in last night's starting lineup, and he's all set to start in the All-Star game in his hometown of Seattle. So the club remains cautiously optimistic his shoulder will be fine. He injured it 2 times in the last 6 days, but it's great for fantasy managers to see him back in the lineup. Plus, he did a couple of great things that we will pinpoint when we go over the game recaps, okay? Gallen, my boy Gallen, I love, dominated the Pirates over 7 innings in his final start before the All-Star game, where he's likely going to be the National League's starting pitcher because Spencer Strider is now not pitching in the All-Star game. The Mets and Padres, what a great matchup this is, right? The 2 most overpriced teams in baseball. They started a series against each other yesterday, and they both sit with records as of yesterday. They were 41 and 46, both teams. Just huge disappointments, but interesting that they actually had the same record entering yesterday's game. The Mets did beat the Padres yesterday 7-5, but I want to know from the chat room, who do you think, which of these 2 teams enters the All-Star break with a better record? It's going to be one of the 2. So the Mets got a little bit of a head start. I'm going to take the Padres. I still think the Padres can win the next 2 games. We will see what happens. All right. I love seeing all of you in the chat room. I will say hi to all of you. Chris from Cambridge, SM King Turd, All-Star Dog, Mitchell Hartson. Is Merrill here too? And Boston Paul. I will say that one of the coolest people I know, Boston Paul. We're going to dedicate this day to Joey Meneses. Today is the official Lenny Melnick Fantasy Sports Joey Meneses Day over here, okay? So, yes, if you didn't know, Joey Meneses hit 2 home runs to double his home run total for the season so far, okay? There you go, Boston Paul. Alek Manoah, okay? He's pretty cool. Yesterday in Detroit, 6 innings, 1 earned run, 8 strikeouts, didn't walk anybody. All right, that's a great sign for the Blue Jays rotation, but we all know that Manoah has some pretty disappointing underlying stats, which include his lack of ground balls induced and his lack of strikeouts this year. He cannot get that formula up to par, and we have been telling you this all season. So, the Pirates made a number of moves yesterday before the game. McCutchen and Ke'Bryan Hayes were both placed on the 10-day injured list. Just yesterday, Lenny asked me to put Ke'Bryan Hayes back into his active roster in Fangraphs. Yes, I have to run Lenny's teams, okay? So I'm rolling 8 teams and trying to keep track of all of you people in the mixed leagues and the only league. So give a girl a break here. I didn't have a time to get him off the injured list and back onto Lenny's active roster because he's now back on the injured list. Pittsburgh reinstated G-Man Choi from the 60-day injured list and recalled Cody Bolton. So McCutchen, we don't expect him to spend too long on the injured list. His IL placement is retroactive to July 6th. He's actually been nagged by elbow soreness dating back a few weeks ago, and the club, they decided now to give him some rest completely. I really think that McCutchen is not going to spend a lot of time there, but it's probably pretty smart. I mean, he is having a decent season, McCutchen, batting .268 with a .383 on base percentage, 10 home runs in 316 plate appearances. Not only that, he's walking a lot. He's got a 15.5% walk rate, and he's striking out 20% of the time. Now, Hayes, on the other hand, he's got lower back inflammation. I told you he was already on the injured list June 28th. The same situation, the same injury. He's obviously not fully healthy yet. Now, Jared Triolo came up. He is going to be the primary third baseman. No, he was already up because he was filling in for Cabrian Hayes when he was on the injured list before. Now, in the minors this season, Triolo hit 1 home run and stole 8 bases across 2 levels before he got called up. And over the last 8 straight games, filling in for Hayes, he's been batting .286 with 11 strikeouts in 32 plate appearances, though. So he's striking out like 30% of the time, at least. Jordan Montgomery left his start yesterday after he appeared to tweak his hamstring while delivering a breaking ball to Elvis Andrus in the bottom of the 5th inning. He left the game. Now, he wasn't going to pitch until after the All-Star break anyway, but, you know, this is another thing that Jordan Montgomery is a pitcher for St. Louis. We wonder what is going to happen. He was already being spoke of as a possible trade candidate. He had a 3.23 ERA, a 1.22 whip, 96 strikeouts and 27 walks, and 18 starts over 103 innings pitched. So, do the Cardinals, I mean, look, it makes it harder to trade a guy when he's hurt. And I don't think this is a serious injury. We'll have to see what happens. He's going to rest through the All-Star break, obviously. But he did immediately come after the game, and it was obvious when he tweaked it. So, we'll see. Now, yesterday, another big deal. Is Unholy Toledo here today? Well, if you're not here, Unholy, let me check. Lenny's pretty slow today, telling me what's going on. Do you see him?
No, he's not here. He's not here.
Can you interact some, Leonard?
I
want you in the chat room.
Okay. Yeah, you talking about the Cubs now?
Yes. The first time in Cubs franchise history, they beat the Yankees at Yankee Stadium. They were 0-8 in regular season games and 0-4 in the World Series at Yankee Stadium. So go Cubbies. On June 12th, a couple weeks ago, the Phillies had a 13-23 road record. They have since won 13 straight away from home, and that's the longest road winning streak in MLB history by a team that was 10 or more games under 500 on the road entering the streak. The Phillies are 48-39, and if the season ended today, the Phillies would be in the playoffs as the third wild card team, all right? They're 23-7 since June 2nd and have lost 3 games in the standings to the Braves because the Braves are even better. They've gone 26-4 over that same time. Christian Pache had an incredible pinch hit home run yesterday off A.J. Puck in the 9th inning. That capped the comeback. The Phillies are now 1.5 games back of Miami, but they are shutting down Andrew Painter. He went for more testing on his right elbow. Rob Thompson does say that there is some concern here. Also, we've been telling you this, Yuri Perez being optioned to the minors. Now, look, like I mentioned before, you can't always tell, you can't ever really tell what player outcome is going to be. Baseball is full of unexpected surprises. But for this one with Yuri Perez, this has been talked about, and we've talked about it, and somebody that we trust a whole lot, Craig Mish, who is an insider in the Marlins clubhouse. He was talking about this a couple weeks ago. We told you, I know it's tough to sell a guy like Yuri Perez, trade him away. I know it's tough. And I know it's easy to just listen and be like, oh, no way, I'm not trading Yuri Perez. the best thing you could have done with this guy is trade him when we told you to trade him. We knew because we listened to Craig Mish, and there's not very many people we trust in this industry, but he is one of them. He tweeted out yesterday after the Marlins sent down Yuri Perez to the minors. He says, for those asking why Perez isn't just staying in MLB, the Marlins feel it is not fair to the club to have him pitching limited innings every 5 days because they fear that it would crush the already heavily used bullpen, number one. Also, the Marlins have been trying to pause his innings several times over the past month, and then with Johnny Cueto getting re-injured, and then they lost Trevor Rogers and Edward Cabrera, they kept him going, but it was only a temporary fix. He was also too good to option, but right now he has already exceeded his career high in innings pitched. That made the Marlins decide to make the call to send him down to slow him down and preserve innings for later in the season. He was excellent, okay? There's no doubt about it, but you saw this coming, and the reason you listen to this show is to get your fantasy advice. We try to help you win fantasy. Yuri Perez was he was absolute going to be cut on innings no matter what, and he is right now. So, they do have an opening in the starting rotation, but Kim Ng says that Johnny Cueto is slated to come back on the other side of the All-Star break, and this just freaking pisses off fans so much. The Marlins fans are pissed. I understand why. Here's one Marlins fan on Twitter saying, the Marlins cannot sell sending down Yuri and bringing up Cueto as a move that is within the best interest of the current team. There is no spin for that. But let me tell you what, it's baseball. We don't need a spin. The truth is they baby pitchers, and whether I like it or anybody else likes it, as far as I'm concerned, I think they should just let these kids pitch. Let him pitch. Yuri Perez is doing great. You're going to send him down to the minors. He's going to pitch there. I get not wanting to bombard your bullpen, who's already pretty stressed out. But as a Marlins fan, you're pissed. If you have Yuri Perez on your roster, you're pissed about that too. I mean, this guy says, Marlins, you're in a playoff race. You don't want to sacrifice Yuri's future, but you're in a playoff race, and he's pissed. I get it. But it is what it is, okay? Atlanta homered for the 24th consecutive game yesterday, only one shy of the modern-day record. They're 59-28. They're running away with the NL East, and they have a 9-game lead over the Marlins. The Rangers now they have 7 players on the All-Star team. I'm sure that makes you very happy, King Turd. King Turd is a big Rangers fan, if you didn't notice. But they have 5 position players, starters, in a single All-Star game. There's only 4 other times that's happened in baseball history. The Reds actually did it 3 times and the Yankees 1 time. But the last time it did happen was in 1976. And 5 of the 9 players in the AL starting lineup are Texas Rangers, okay? And Eovaldi, starting pitcher, he's there too. Adolis Garcia is the 7th Rangers All-Star. Him and Austin Hayes are replacing Aaron Judge and Mike Trout on the roster. Now, if you look at Austin Hayes versus Luis Robert, okay, I could tell you between these two players, Hayes leads Robert in batting average. That's the only stat that he's better at than Robert. In home runs, RBI, stolen bases, isolated slugging, OPS, OPS plus, and WAR, Robert leads Hayes in all of those. But take a guess as to which of these two players are the starter in the All-Star game, and it goes to Austin Hayes. So, there you have that. Lenny's pretty disappointed in that, I have to say, okay? Jay Gibbs, have a great time. Hello, Leonard Donaldson, post-1958. Great to see ya. Star Dog. Franchi Cordero has a locker at Yankee Stadium, okay? And it says that he's presumably taking Jake Bauer's roster spot over Estevan Florial. So that should be interesting. Now, the White Sox, their offense was not good last year, but it's actually gotten worse this year. They rank out of 30 teams, they rank 22nd in runs, 22nd in batting average, 29th in walks, 29th in on base, 22nd in slugging, and 25th in OPS. They're horrible. The only guy hitting on that whole team is freaking Robert. Esteury Ruiz was placed on the 10-day injured list. He's got a right shoulder injury. It's a partial dislocation of the shoulder. So, who fills in for Ruiz? J.J. Bleday will probably see the bulk of the starts in center field for the Oakland Athletics while he's out. The Twins are 5-1 since Carlos Correa moved up into the leadoff spot. Correa has a .903 OPS during that span, and of course, Rocco Baldelli says that we're going to keep rolling with it. Why wouldn't they, right? I mean, hello. Since Anthony Rizzo was traded to the Yankees, all of the Cubbies' first basemen have a combined 0 WAR in 1,569 plate appearances. Lindor is the biggest snub of the season this year for the All-Star team. He says he does not feel snubbed, all right? He says that the guys that made it deserve it. He's very humble. And also, he wanted to mention that Brandon Nimmo, his teammate, he said that he deserves it a lot more than Lindor. He says, let's get him there, and then we'll worry about me. But Francisco Lindor is having an excellent season. He leads all National League shortstops with a .789 OPS. The only shortstop in Major League Baseball who has a higher slugging percentage is Bo Bichette. And Lindor is on pace to finish the season with 34 home runs, 37 doubles, 106 RBI, 101 runs scored, and defensively, this guy is top-notch. He's in the 91st percentile. He's the only MLB player in the modern era to have 8 or more hits, multiple triples, multiple homers, and multiple steals over a 2-game span. Also, hello, Malpal. Great to see you this morning, okay? I think Malpal has a secret man crush on Lorenzen. He's always talking about Lorenzen. He says he's probably going to pitch the home run derby. I suppose that means that Lorenzen gives up a ton of home runs, but we'll see. Okay. Hello, Danny Fuller. Nice to see you. Everybody, it's great to see you. Let's keep up the chat room. All right. Another great thing. This is a wonderful pitcher that I drafted because I'm not all about... I usually wait too long to get a closer. In certain leagues, I do draft a closer somewhat early, but I feel like most of the time I wait too long. I need to correct that. But Carlos Estevez was one of my closers that I drafted this year. And of course, he was only a questionable closer to go into the season. It's not like I could have predicted this. But he replaces Emmanuel Clase on the American League roster in the All-Star game. And he's obviously, this is his first All-Star game. Also, his teammate... is Geraldo Perdomo an Angel?
No.
Okay. Anyway, his teammate for the American League All-Star team. Carlos Estevez and Geraldo Perdomo are All-Stars for the first time. Perdomo is a National League. He's replacing Dansby Swanson. Estevez is American League. He's replacing Emmanuel Clase. But I gotta say, in reference to Carlos Estevez, he has been successful every single save opportunity that he's had this season. And the Diamondbacks is Geraldo Perdomo's team. He's got a 2.4 Fangraphs WAR. He was named the replacement over Lindor. And you say, why was Perdomo given that? Well, Perdomo is doing very good. He's got 5 home runs, 9 stolen bases, 33 RBIs, and 37 runs in 200, and he's batting .274. He is quietly slumping at the moment. He's won for his last 20 over the previous 7 games. So, he still is playing every day for the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks are... The reason that he got it was because it says it was a result of player balloting. Now, my last tidbit is a good one. It's about Trevor Bauer. You all know I'm a big fan of Trevor Bauer's pitching. He works very hard, and he's an excellent pitcher that studies the game more than anybody I've ever seen. You know he's pitching in Japan, and most people only like to highlight the crap that he does. But I have to say, in his last 6 starts, okay, from June 3rd to July 6th, Trevor Bauer is 5-0 with a 2.18 ERA. All 6 starts have been quality starts. He's thrown 2 complete games in 45 and 1/3 innings, and he struck out 51. His fastball is 99 miles an hour, and last night he threw 128 pitches. So Bauer finding his way over there, and I hope to see him back in MLB, but you know how that goes. He pretty much ruined his career with this idiocy. But could he come back to MLB? The Reds could sure use him right now, but obviously there's that'll be probably a cold day in hell if he ever goes back to the Reds. We'll see what happens, but he's in a contract right now in Japan, and let's get started on the game recaps. All right. Thanks for the compliment, Boston Paul. We appreciate it. All right. Atlanta, Tampa. All right. Atlanta beat Tampa. Not surprising there. 2-1. Even though they were held to just 2 hits the whole game, they just keep on winning. Atlanta, as we said earlier, has homered in 24 straight outings. They won for the 19th time in 21 games, and they've improved their record to 59 and 28. And the Rays, dude, they've lost a season-high 6 straight games. Charlie Morton pitched into the 7th inning. He was 18-8 with a 3.33 ERA in 42 starts over 2 seasons with Tampa Bay. And yesterday he pitched at Tropicana Field for the first time since leaving the Rays. All right. He's 39 years old. He allowed 1 run and 4 hits. And Atlanta turned to the bullpen with 1 out in the 7th inning. Tyler Glasnow, wait for it. Guess what? Tyler Glasnow might be hurting again. And let me tell you what it is. I'll give you the details. I'll give you the scoop. Glasnow left in the 6th inning due to cramping in his hands and legs. He allowed 2 runs, only one of them was earned, and 2 hits. He walked 1 and he struck out 8. But he struck out 6 straight batters at one point, including all 4 batters he faced in the 2nd inning. How can you strike out 4 batters that you face in the 2nd inning? I don't get it. Probably because the catcher might have missed it, and then he threw him out at first. So, I don't know. Anyway, there's Glasnow hasn't won since June 14th. He's 0-3 over his last 4 starts. So, this is what Cash says about Tyler Glasnow. He says that he's experienced cramping before. He's experienced the cramping before throughout his career, including during his last win at Oakland on June 14th. He says that the problem is not dehydration and that he does expect to make his next scheduled start. But, you know, when you see a guy like Glasnow hurt, you're just like, oh, great, here we go again. Sean Murphy homered. Wander Franco homered off of Charlie Morton in the 1st inning. Raciel Iglesias, he got a 16th save in 18 opportunities. Acuna Jr. has a 16-game hitting streak, and Marcell Ozuna has a 15-game hitting streak. Both of those hitting streaks came to an end yesterday. Braves manager Brian Snitker said that Spencer Strider and Bryce Elder will not pitch in the All-Star game, but both will travel to Seattle and take part in the other activities. The fun stuff. Max Fried is going to start a minor league rehab assignment tomorrow with AAA Gwinnett. Shane McClanahan threw for 5 minutes from 60 feet on level ground for the first time. He's expected to return July 16th to pitch at Kansas City. Tonight you get to see Strider against Taj Bradley. Bradley's given up 12 earned runs over 7 1/3 innings in his last 2 starts. I love Merrifield's baffling power discovery, Merrill. Great to see you, Merrill. Now, he wants to know if anybody can explain Whit Merrifield, but I am so glad I did not trade this guy at the beginning of the season. I needed a pitcher so bad, and I managed to hold on to Whit Merrifield because the guy trading with me was really touting Whit Merrifield going into this season. The reason I kept him was because I thought I might need another pitcher later, but there's no way in heck I'm giving up Whit Merrifield. It's the only team I have him on, and whenever I see him doing something great, I think to myself, oh, I'm so glad I didn't trade him, you know? All right. The Phillies pinch hitter, Christian Pache, we told you he had an excellent pinch hit home run yesterday, but it's interesting. He predicted earlier this week that he would have a home run against the Marlins. It was a 2-run homer with 2 outs in the 9th inning, and the Phillies rallied past the Marlins 4-3 to match the franchise record with their 13th straight road victory. Wait. Yeah. All right, we already told you that they won their last 13 road games. Last time it happened, 1976. And interesting, Miami had a 3-1 lead going into the 9th inning. Zach Wheeler gave up 7 hits, 3 runs, struck out 7, doing the Zach Wheeler thing. Craig Kimbrell got his 14th save. And Alcantara, who is not having a great season at all, allowed 8 hits, only 1 run scored though, and he struck out 5. He also didn't walk anybody. He did give up a solo homer to Real Muto in the 6th inning. Garrett Cooper hit a solo home run and got a single. Joey Wendell doubled twice. Trey Turner and Kyle Schwarber had a hit apiece. The Marlins entered the game at 51-38, which is their most wins ever before the All-Star break. Miami had the 5th best record in the majors and the 2nd best in the National League behind Atlanta. I told you Johnny Cueto's coming back. The Marlins must have some confidence that he will be back because they did demote Yuri. So he's going to pitch today at AAA. And also Edward Cabrera, he's going to pitch 3 innings at Class A Jupiter today. Sir Anthony Dominguez will have another bullpen today too. Tonight you get to see Braxton Garrett against Ranger Suarez. Here we go with the Whit Merrifield. Whit Merrifield homered and drove in 4 runs. The Blue Jays beat the Tigers 12-2 for their 4th straight victory. Toronto improved to 15-5 against American League Central teams, while the Tigers fell to 2-15 against the AL East. Alek Manoah won for the first time since April 5th. 1 run, 5 hits, 6 innings, 8 strikeouts, no walks. He threw 19 first pitch strikes to 23 batters, a career-high 82.6%. Alex Fado took the loss. It was his first start since June 2nd. He allowed 7 runs in 3 2/3 in his return from a finger injury. George Springer, a home run and 3 RBIs. Toronto sent 10 batters to the plate in a 6-run 4th inning and 11 batters to the plate in a 5-run 9th inning. Kevin Kiermaier had 4 hits, and the Blue Jays scored 6 times in the 4th. Danny Jansen hit a 2-run double. Matt Vierling had 3 singles. And Merrifield's, I told you, 3-run homer yesterday. As far as injuries are concerned, you have Ryu. He's scheduled to make a rehab start in the Florida State League tomorrow. He's expected to throw 3 to 4 innings in his return from Tommy John surgery. And whoop-de-doo, get your bells and whistles. Riley Green is coming back today. All right. The game drew 30,029 fans. It was the 3rd biggest home crowd of the season. Tonight you get to see Matt Manning against Kevin Gausman. Danny Fuller says if the Tigers played themselves, they would lose 2 of 3. That's pretty good. Okay. The Cubbies beat the New York Yankees 3-0. I told you it was their first ever victory in the Bronx. New York lost its 3rd straight, dropping to 13-16 with a major league low .214 batting average since Aaron Judge tore his ligament on June 3rd. Yippee, Lenny. All right. The Yankees were booed repeatedly by angry Yankees fans because they have scored 2 runs or fewer in 12 of those games without Aaron Judge. The Cubbies, which had dropped 8 of its previous 11, tied Toronto for the big league lead with 10 shutouts. The Yankees were blanked for just the 4th time. Jameson Taillon allowed 1 hit over 8 innings. He entered 2-6 with a 6.93 ERA, but he retired 23 of 26 batters. He struck out 4 and set his season high for innings, and he didn't allow a runner past first base in his first victory since June 13th. He became the first former Yankee to pitch 8 or more innings and allow no more than 1 hit at Yankee Stadium. Rodon is back. Whoop-de-doo for that one. Get your bells and whistles. All right, he's wearing his knee-high socks. He threw predominantly fastballs and sliders, mixed in 2 curveballs and a pair of changeups. He averaged 95.5 miles per hour with his fastball, but he got just 5 misses among 30 swings. He allowed 2 runs and 4 hits and 5 1/3 with 2 walks and 2 strikeouts. Cody Bellinger hit his 9th home run and his 20th hit in his last 40 at-bats. Adbert Alzolay, 6 save in 7 chances, and the Yankees were held to a season-low 2 hits. Malpel says, honestly, it wouldn't surprise him if Cueto came back and was good. That guy has more lives than Keith Richards. Dennis Timko says, hello, Dennis. Hello to Aiden. I hope he's having a great time at camp, learning how to save endangered animals. The Yankees' offense sucks. They could have a healthy DeGrom, Rodon, and Cole and still lose. Yeah, I mean, Judge really does make a big difference in this on this team. There's no doubt about it. Lenny's on the phone. Probably telling off spammers, but I don't know.
Yeah, go ahead.
Anyways, Dansby Swanson missed his 2nd straight game. He's got a bruised left foot. We told you he's going to skip the All-Star game. Nestor Cortez was transferred to the 60-day injured list. He will not be activated until August 4th at least. Jake Bowers was put on the 10-day injured list with a bruised left rotator cuff. And tonight you get to see Garrett Cole, who is 10-3 with a 2.53 ERA in 15 starts against the Cubbies. And the Cubbies will start Drew Smyly today. Adolis Garcia and Corey Seager homered. Rookie Corey Bradford earned his first Major League victory, and the Rangers beat Washington Nationals 7-2. Texas had dropped 6 of 8, but assured themselves of entering the All-Star break with at least a share of the AL West lead. Washington has lost 5 in a row and has dropped 15 of 16 at Nationals Park since June 3rd. The last place Nationals are the National League worst, 13-32 at home. They went 0-3 with runners in scoring positions, and they're 7-42 in those situations. Bradford allowed 1 run in 5 innings to secure a win in his 7th career appearance and 5th start. Texas scored twice in the first inning off Trevor Williams. He allowed 4 runs, 7 hits in 6 innings, and struck out 5. He threw a season-high 110 pitches. Garcia and Josh Young each drove in 2 runs. Joey Meneses, on Joey Meneses' day over here, hit 2 homers. Seager and Garcia both homered. Actually, Corey Seager has homered on back-to-back days and had his 5th multi-hit outing in 7 games this month. He's 18 for 41 with a .439 batting average during his 10-game hitting streak. National shortstop C.J. Abrams started in the leadoff spot for the first time in his career, a move that Martinez said he planned to stick with. Abrams was 1 for 3 with a walk and a stolen base. So Abrams batting leadoff, kids. Heimer Candelario was scratched. He departed Thursday's game when he was hit by a pitch on his right knee. Tonight you get to see Andrew Haney against Jake Urban. Urban is winless in 9 starts since May 8th, but he still has a .318 ERA over his last 4 outings. Aaron Savale struck out a season-high 9 over 7 innings, and Josh Bell hit a 2-run homer, sending the Cleveland Guardians to a 3-0 win over Kansas City Royals. Cleveland won its 2nd straight and improved to .500 for the first time since April 28th, when it was 13-13. The game was completed in 1 hour and 51 minutes, making it the shortest 9-inning game in the history of Progressive Field, which opened in 1994. The Royals are 0-5 on their 7-game trip, totaling 26 hits while being outscored 31-8. Daniel Lynch gave up 3 runs and 6 hits in 6 innings. Aaron Savale allowed 2 hits and did not walk a batter while throwing 100 pitches, and 70 were for strikes. He lowered his ERA to 2.56 in his 7th start since missing 2 months with a strained left oblique. Savale struck out Salvador Perez and Nick Pratto in all 6 of their plate appearances, and Emmanuel Clase picked up his 25th save. Naylor and Bell are responsible for 35.7% of Cleveland's RBIs, the most by a duo in the majors. Alonso and Lindor of the Mets are second at 30.7%. Bobby Witt Jr. and MJ Melendez both doubled. Clase will not pitch in the All-Star game. We told you that, but that's not because he's hurt. He's going to spend time with his pregnant girlfriend in the Dominican Republic. Tonight you get to see Brady Singer against Gavin Williams. Gavin Williams, the Guardians' top prospect, he has limited opponents to a 185 batting average over his first 3 big league starts. He's got a 3.79 ERA. Yu Chang hit a bases-loaded single in a 5-run second inning in his return from the injured list, and the Red Sox beat the A's 7-3. Chang has been out since April with a broken bone in his left hand. He drove in the first 2 runs of the game and was one of 6 players with RBIs for Boston. The Red Sox pounded out 10 hits and extended their streak of games with 10 or more hits to 6. The A's fell to 25-65. The Red Sox have won 6 of 7 with 2 games remaining before the All-Star break. Sam Long, who has 2 saves for the A's, became the 14th pitcher to start a game for Oakland this season. He struck out 2 in the first inning, but didn't get an out in the second before Medina had to come in. Luis Medina inherited the bases-loaded jam. Long allowed 3 runs on 3 hits and a walk. Medina pitched 6 innings, struck out 9, and 4 runs allowed on 4 hits with a walk. Angel Felipe was recalled from AAA Las Vegas and made his major league debut, pitching the 8th and getting the Red Sox down in order with 1 strikeout. Brennan Bernardino pitched the first 2 innings for the Red Sox. He held the A's to 1 hit and no runs while striking out 3 and walking 1. And then Nick Pivetta came in and struck out 8 over 5 innings and picked up the win. Nick Pivetta could be a good pitcher. You know what? Yes, I know. He was actually demoted to the bullpen, and then he was dropped in our only league. And Lenny picked him up last week. And you know what? This guy could get more wins, definitely will get more wins as a reliever than he did as a starter, because you don't have to throw 5 innings to get a win as a reliever. It still counts for fantasy categories, though, and Pivetta could actually be a much better pitcher now that he's in the bullpen for fantasy. Jarren Duran, Justin Turner, and Alex Verdugo had 2 hits apiece and each drove in a run. Seth Brown hit a 2-run homer. Shea Langoliers doubled. The Red Sox reinstated James Paxton from the paternity leave list in time for his scheduled turn in the rotation today, and he's going up against Paul Blackburn. Ramon Urias drove in the automatic runner with a first pitch double off Minnesota closer Yohan Duran in the 10th inning, and the Orioles beat the Twins 3-1. The Orioles have the 3rd best record in baseball and moved within 3 games of the AL East leader, Tampa Bay. It's the closest they've been since May 30th. Cole Irvin took a shutout into the 7th inning, and he started the game with 3 perfect innings. Bailey Ober and the Twins pitchers. The Twins pitchers, they lead the major leagues in ERA. Their 5 starters combined for 3 earned runs and 17 hits allowed in 35 innings with 45 strikeouts and 5 walks over the last I don't know how many games, but Bailey Ober, he did a good job. Bailey Ober, in his last turn, he allowed 2 hits in 7 scoreless innings, and that triggered this impeccable run through the rotation for the Twin staff that leads the majors in the ERA. I told you what they did. Now, Ober gave the Twins their 7th consecutive quality start of 6+ innings and 3 earned runs or fewer. It's their longest such streak since 2011. Batista, he pitched 2 hitless innings with 3 strikeouts. He has 84 strikeouts in 42 innings. Only 13 pitches he needed in a perfect 9th inning. Cedric Mullins robbed Buxton of a home run. Austin Hayes, I told you about him. He is going to be in the All-Star game. I'm trying to kind of skim through these to make it a little shorter. I'm running out of time again. Tyler Wells goes up against Sonny Gray tonight. Joey Wiemer and Willie Adames hit 2-run homers. Corbin Burns allowed just 3 hits in 6 innings, but the Milwaukee Brewers, they beat the Reds 7-3 last night. The victory lifted the Brewers to within a game of the Reds, who saw their 5-game winning streak halted. Milwaukee won for the 4th time in 5 games against Cincinnati. Cincinnati entered this series a season-high 10 games over 500 and had won 8 of their last 9 and 20 of their last 24. Burns walked 4. That's not good, but he did strike out 6, and he won consecutive games for the first time since mid-April. Andrew Abbott, who's 4-1, allowed 6 runs on 9 hits, 1 walk, and 6 strikeouts in 4 1/3 innings. It was his shortest of 7 starts this season and second against Milwaukee. His ERA jumped to 2.38 after he came into the game with a 1.21 ERA in his previous 6 starts. The Brewers had 14 hits, 2 off of their season high set on June 7th against Baltimore. Joey Votto's doing good. If you picked him up, I know I did. Joey Votto, 2-run homer, and since coming off the 60-day injured list on June 19th, Votto has 6 home runs and 15 RBIs in 18 appearances. He now has 3,645 career total bases, which is 1 more than Johnny Bench. He's catching Pete Rose, but he's still 1,000 away, okay? During the Reds road trip, Votto is batting .467 with 3 home runs, 7 RBIs, a walk, and 4 runs. Adames hit his 14th homer. Victor Caratini had an RBI single. Devin Williams, 19th save in 21 chances. And tonight you get to see Luke Weaver against Colin Ray. Luis Castillo threw 7 innings. Mike Ford had a bases-clearing double during a 9-run 4th inning for Seattle, and the Mariners beat the Astros 10-1. Seattle has won 6 of 7 to climb over 500 for the first time since June 2nd. The Mariners moved within 4 games of second-place Houston in the American League West. Hunter Brown, who I love, and I cannot keep saying that enough, I hope that I don't know. Do I hope that he continues to do well? Yes, but on the other hand, I wish he wouldn't, because then I could get him for a lot better price next year. Regardless, he's a good pitcher. He struck out 8 in 3 innings, but he surrendered 5 runs on 8 hits. He had allowed 3 runs or fewer in 4 of his last 5 starts. Colton Wong drove in 2 runs in the 4th. Ford hit a solo home run in the 9th and finished with 3 hits and tied a career high with 4 RBI. Jared Kelenic, Ford, and Wong, the number 7, 8, and 9 hitters in the Mariners lineup, combined to go 7 for 10 with 7 RBI, Ford with 4 RBI. Alex Bregman had an RBI infield single, and Yordan Alvarez took batting practice on the field before the game. He could take part in Jose Urquidy's live batting practice today. That's according to manager Dusty Baker. Tonight, Framber Valdez will pitch for the first time since June 22nd against right-handed pitcher Brian Wu for the Mariners. All-star Luis Robert Jr. tied the game with his 26th homer of the season, and the White Sox rallied past the Cardinals 8-7 after Jordan Montgomery left with a right hamstring injury. St. Louis took a 5-0 lead in the 3rd and led 5-1 in the 5th when Montgomery departed. He said his leg would be imaged today. He only allowed 1 run on 3 hits and 4 1/3. He was trying to get his 5th straight win after 7 consecutive losses. White Sox starter Dylan Cease allowed 5 runs and 11 hits in 6 innings, and that was his 8th straight no decision. Nolan Arenado hit a pair of 2-run homers. Arenado, once again, doing great. He's gone deep 3 times in his last 2 games and has 6 extra base hits in his last 3 games. He has 19 home runs on the season. The 2-homer game was his 2nd this season and 24th of his career. Jake Berger homered and drove in 3 runs. That was his 19th homer. Remillard finished with 3 RBIs. Kendall Graveman got his 7th save. St. Louis placed Tommy Edman on the 10-day injured list with right wrist inflammation and recalled Jose Furman from AAA. Edmonds played second base, shortstop, center field, and right field this season. Did I get Lenny off the phone? He's AWOL again in chat. He'll be back. Oh, sorry. I'm glad you guys are talking up so much. That picture is of Lenny doing play-by-play at the Staten Island Yankees game. And if you look at this ballpark, look at the background of this ballpark. It's absolutely beautiful. That's the New York City skyline behind you. I don't know, PNC gives it a run for its money, but I'll tell you what, this ballpark has one of the most stunning views in all of baseball. No doubt about it. All right. Adam Wainwright had an injection in his strained right shoulder, and Wilson Contreras didn't start after having a dental procedure Friday morning in Chicago. Tonight you get to see Miles Mikolas, and the White Sox have not named a starter yet. Lourdes Gurriel Jr., another one of my faves, he hit a 3-run homer, and Zach Gallen pitched 7 strong innings to help the Diamondbacks beat the Pirates 7-3. The NL West leading Arizona Diamondbacks snapped a 4-game losing streak with all-star rookie Corbin Carroll returning to the lineup a day after leaving a game because of soreness in his right shoulder. The Diamondbacks remained a half a game ahead of Los Angeles for the division lead. The Pirates have lost 6 of their last 7. Rich Hill pitched 4 innings, 7 hits, 5 runs, 4 walks, 3 strikeouts. He's 1-8 against Arizona with a 6.18 ERA. His only win came back in 2006. Gallen, 1 run, 7 innings. His ERA is 3.05, 4 hits, 5 strikeouts, no walks. He's tied with Shane McClanahan for the most wins in the majors. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. also had 2 doubles and drove in 4 runs, 3 of them on his 15th homer in the 3rd inning. Carroll went 2 for 5 with 2 stolen bases, his 25th and 26th of the season. Jake McCarthy stole 2 bases, giving him 20 for the season. Justin Martinez was called up Friday from AAA Reno. He made his major league debut, pitched the 8th inning for Arizona. He reached 102 miles an hour on 4 pitches, gave up 2 runs, struck out 2, walked 2, and hit a batter. Let's see. Also, the Diamondbacks called up outfielder Dominic Canzone, Canzone, the Pacific Coast League Player of the Month, called up from AAA Reno. He was batting .354 with 16 homers and 71 RBI. He led the Pacific Coast League with a .634 slugging percentage and a 1.065 OPS. That could be good. Tonight you get to see Mitch Keller against Kyle Nelson. Kyle Nelson is the opener. Jeff McNeil doubled in Starling Marte with the go-ahead run on the first pitch of the 10th inning, and the New York Mets extended their winning streak to a season-high 6 games by beating the Padres 7-5. The Padres dropped to 0-8 in extra innings games. They were coming off their first 3-game sweep of the season. They came in with identical records, and the Mets have baseball's biggest payroll. It's $360 million. The Padres are in third at about $250 million. The Padres had World Series aspirations after reaching the NL Championship Series, and the Mets went on a jaw-dropping spending spree under the new owner Steve Cohen, but their bullpen has been an issue after Edwin Diaz was lost before the season to a knee injury. Yu Darvish, who had been sidelined by an illness for just more than 2 weeks, allowed 3 runs and 7 hits in 5 innings against Verlander, who made just his 3rd career start against the Padres, gave up 3 runs, 2 of them earned, and 5 hits in 6 innings. Lindor had 3 hits and 3 RBIs. He followed up his first career 5-hit game the night before. He homered off of Yu Darvish in the 3rd. It was his 19th of the season. Daniel Vogelbach 3 singles off of Yu Darvish. The Mets had the bases loaded with 1 out in the 9th before Nick Martinez got Marte to bounce into a 1-2-3 double play. Drew Smith pitched the 9th inning for the win. Manny Machado hit a 2-run homer. It's his 13th of the season. He also had an RBI double. Trent Grisham RBI double. Ha-Sung Kim was replaced by Rougned Odor opening the 9th. Kim jammed his right big toe, kicking a water cooler in frustration after he was thrown out trying to stretch a double into a triple. So, good job, dude. Break your toe, jam your toe, kick the thing, whatever you're doing. It's ridiculous. Juan Soto doubled. All right, tonight you get to see David Peterson against Blake Snell. One more game, kids. The Dodgers didn't trade for Mookie Betts 3 years ago to be an infielder. However, his offensive production is better when he's it's better when he's playing infield than when he's patrolling the outfield. He hit a pair of solo homers and drove in 4 runs. Freddie Freeman went deep, and the Dodgers beat the Angels for the 9th straight time yesterday, 11-4. The Angels' skid is their longest in the series. They dropped back to 500 for the 12th time this season at 45-45. Tony Gonsolin retired his first 9 batters of the game. He allowed 4 runs and 7 hits in 6 1/3. It was his longest outing of the season. He struck out 5 and walked 1. Griffin Canning gave up 4 runs, including a career-high 3 homers and 5 hits in 2 2/3 innings. It was his shortest outing of the season. He had 1 walk and didn't strike out anybody. Betts made his 4th consecutive start in the Dodgers infield, mostly because Vargas is slumping offensively. JD Martinez and Will Smith both homered, and the Dodgers pounded out 11 hits. Betts had his 23rd career game with 3 extra base hits, tying Lou Gehrig for the most by a player aged 30 or younger. 25 homers for the 5th time in his career, and the most in the first half of a season in his career. And they intentionally walked him in the 8th. Don't blame him for that, right? Ohtani snapped an 0-for-11 slide with a single in the 4th, and then he scored. Mickey Moniak's 3-run homer ended 21 consecutive scoreless innings for the Angels against the Dodgers this season. Moustakas homered. And Freeman, he hit his 16th homer on the first pitch in the 1st inning. Martinez slugged his 21st homer leading off the 2nd, and Betts went deep on his first pitch in the 3rd. Anthony Rendon won't go on the injured list as he recovers from a foul ball that hit his left shin this week. He's still pretty sore, but he's not going on the injured list, according to manager Phil Nevin. Brandon Drury will have more tests due to ongoing soreness in his left shoulder. Noah Syndergaard pitched a 3-inning simulated game, and he'll go on a rehab assignment to AAA Oklahoma City at some point. Notice they don't say when. They just said at some point. Oh, God, I still have another game. Okay. All right. This is tiring. Reed Detmers is going to pitch tonight. Michael Grove is going to pitch tonight as an opener. No. The Dodgers plan to either start Michael Grove or use an opener before bringing in Grove tonight against Reed Detmers. All right. 21-year-old Ezekiel Tovar hit a go-ahead 3-run homer in the 7th to help Austin Gomer win his 3rd straight start, and the Colorado Rockies ended an 11-game losing streak to San Francisco by beating the Giants 5-2. Tovar connected off of Tyler Rogers for his 9th homer, batting leadoff for just the 2nd time in his career. Colorado snapped a 4-game losing streak and a 10-game road losing streak. Ross Stripling was done after 3 2/3 in his 2nd start and 3rd outing overall since he missed more than a month with a lower back strain. He struck out 3 and didn't walk anybody. Brandon Crawford hit a tying 2-run homer in the 6th for his first since April 29th, and the National League leading 20th home run surrendered by Gomer, who allowed 2 runs on 5 hits over 6 innings. Brandon Crawford has 28 career homers against Colorado. Ryan McMahon hit a 2-run homer, and Daniel Bard got his first save. Left-handed pitcher Brent Suter and righty Antonio Senzatella will throw bullpen sessions today. Kyle Freeland's decrease in velocity isn't considered to be from anything physical, and manager Bud Black expressed no concerns. Farhan Zaidi said that the hope is that Thairo Estrada might be ready to return from a fractured left hand not too long after the All-Star break, but it's hard to know for sure until he picks up a bat. Yeah, I'd say, okay. All right. Anthony DeSclafani is dealing with fatigue in his throwing shoulder. He's set to pitch a bullpen today. And tonight you get to see Connor Siebold trying to snap a 3-game losing streak in which he has allowed 21 earned runs over 13 innings with 8 home runs allowed against Ryan Walker, who's starting for San Francisco. Thank you all very much. I hope that I just keep working to get better at this show, and I will continue to try next week. My goal is to get it under 1 hour. I'm 5 minutes over. I hope you all enjoy your weekend. We will see you tomorrow, bright and early, Lady and the Legend, 9 o'clock.